Welcome back, everybody, to round four of the World Cup of 2022. 2020, really. This round I'm playing Jared Cappel, good friend, mod on my Twitch channel, um, Canadian player, and yeah, he's been making the rounds lately. He's been improving steadily, becoming really a force to be reckoned with, and yeah, he's no chump, but yeah, in recent games against him in tournaments, I played him twice in in Montreal. He beat me both of those times, and I played him once in the Canadian Scrabble Classic, where he had a win in the pre-end game, but ended up missing it. So yeah, this was three losses, I think, in a row against him. He also won the Montreal tournament, and so yeah, it was hopefully time for revenge. However, Jared's opening play here was lintels, the obscure anagram of lentils, um, and yeah, this was already a huge play for Jared. 64 points, using up a blank and an S that I can no longer draw. And my rack here was seven consonants. And this position does not look very good, does it? Here I have to exchange because any play that I make is just not going to be worth it. If I play something like Spring, I'm leaving myself with F and V with almost no potential for next turn. So here I actually ended up keeping PRS as a leave. It's possible that with these exchanges, it's always very close. Whether you keep RS, NS, PRS, NGS. I actually considered NGS for a while since it seems like it really just depends on where I think Jared is more likely to play next turn. So if I decide to keep NGS, I'm obviously going to be hitting this I and lintels much harder than anything else on the board. So if I think Jared's going to try to make a defensive play to block the E, the L, and the S, keeping NGS makes sense. But if I think Jared's more likely to just make a normal play, like scoring some points through the I or maybe through the N, or even just playing to the S, it's probably better to keep something more like PRS. Because yeah, I could be drawing into bingos through the I, they could just get blocked. Whereas PRS can hit the I, it hits the I a little bit, hits the E a lot harder. But it all depends on what I think. And considering that Jared chose to play lintels instead of lentils, it's possible that he might think that this this E is not so dangerous to put here. I think personally I would have probably played lentils instead, because that way there aren't bingos ending in E, and there are a lot fewer bingos that start with I or end with I than end with E. So yeah, and putting the E in the double double lane versus the I, feel like it's not a big difference. So yeah, because he played lintels, I wondered if he would be less likely to block this E, which is why I kept the PRS leave. But yeah, I'm not even simulating the NGS leave, even though it's definitely possible that that's good, for various reasons. I don't like the G, and for what I just said as well. And here Jared puts down Hulk for 16, and I look at this play. I'm like, interesting. Like he's clearly sacrificing points here to try and block the E. And I think he notices that I look at that play funny. Um, and yeah, the reason being he has Sook here for 21 points, and even just Husk or Hunk um, score more points than Hulk. So because he was doing this, I was like, is this really it's really what he wants to do. And I sort of tried to make him think that this wasn't what he wanted to do. And he was just about to hit the clock, and then he was like, hmm. Then he takes his play back, and then puts down Husk, then takes it back, and he's like murmuring something to himself, and eventually plays Husk. And I was like, phew, breathed a huge sigh of relief and said, um, that was an unfortunate choice, and hit him with disprove for 101 points. Had he played Hulk in this specific instance, I would have zero bingos. He would have blocked provides and disprove, and I would be a very sad gentleman. And so luckily, for some reason, like the little bit of psychology worked out this time. But no matter. Um, Jared follows up very nicely with rat lines for 82. So he's now ahead 165 to 101. And I draw some very nice scoring tiles, and I'm able to score very well. I saw that I could play Pedway. I saw that I could play, yeah. I saw that I could play Yod, Pedway, Yop, or Yopt. And between Yopt and Yop, I figured that Yop was better, and the BED leave seemed to justify um, taking one fewer point than playing Pedway. I mean, if I play Yopt, if I'm not playing Yopt, I shouldn't be playing Pedway because Pedway uses the same exact letters, scores 4 points less, and actually putting the Y here is probably just as dangerous as putting the D, because just huge plays could happen like Joey or Lazy or Quay or whatever. All of those scoring tiles are still out, and this could definitely save some of his racks. So I discarded Pedway and thought about Yod, Yop, and Yopt, and I was like, Yod, BP, terrible leave. Let's not play that. And it was between these two, and I wasn't sure, but I thought that Yop was probably slightly better, just to not give back this triple. Keep somewhat balanced leave of BED. Doesn't really do that well on this board because I'm duplicating this D and disprove, and I mean, the BIDE combination isn't great either, but I could maybe bingo through this I. Um, yeah, my chances aren't phenomenal. 16% bingo chances for a balanced leave. That's not very good. So yeah, I wasn't like super thrilled with this, but happy to take advantage of his Husk play twice in a row. One with disprove and one with hooking it with a Y on the triple. So yeah, I felt okay here. Jared exchanged 5, and now I'm only down 21, and it's my turn again. I've drawn the other two Ds, and I decided to play Bided, which seems like the clear choice here. Um, there doesn't seem to be any value in keeping these weird leaves of BDDEI because although I can draw a lot of 7-letter words with this sleeve, those words aren't going anywhere. So yeah, I play Bided, and now I'm ahead by 10. Jared takes a really long time here though, and ends up dropping past turn here for 81 points. So he's had EIL and ST blank. He's had antlers, and now he's had AENRST blank, which um, let me see. He has probably 100 plus bingos in this position. Um, so it's important to take a while and try and find highest scoring bingos and which one is the least dangerous. And it seems like he chose right. Past turn being one of 4 81-point bingos, and it seems to be the least dangerous, putting the blank here, um, which limits the score of any playthrough, and yeah, putting a consonant rather than a vowel. I think he chose right, so good on him. I mean, when you have such a great rack, it's one thing, but to be able to find what seems to be the best choice is another. So pass turn comes down, and luckily I have a very nice comeback of grazed for 63, and still a game. Jared plays wavy here. Sorry, he plays wavy here for 28, and I thought that wavy took an S, but it doesn't matter. So I was thinking, oh, wavy, doesn't that take an S? And then I realized there were no unseen S's or blanks, so it didn't matter. But I'm pretty sure wavy is a noun, but I might be wrong. Yeah, wavy the snow goose, because wavier and waviest are also words. So my rack here is IIMNNU. And what's the other one? Oh, yes. So here I had triplicate duplicate letters here, and this looks like a terrible rack, but actually I saw a very nice play with it of minium. And then I was like, minium. Wait a second. Minium? Am I sure this is a word? And little by little, I just started talking myself out of it. Like, what is minium? Minimum? Like, am I confusing it with like minimum? Like this looks really stupid. And I had a decent second choice play of NIMBY, which I knew was uh a lot worse, but I thought that it was worth not playing a phony because Jared does like to challenge words he's unfamiliar with. So I thought he was pretty likely to challenge Minium and that it might not have been a word. But yeah, all of my best plays are Minium. There's also Minim, but Minim is not so great because it takes an A for minima. So yeah, I think NIMBY is better than Minim, but all of the Minium plays are better than NIMBY. And so because I took a long time, Jared also very astute psychological player. And Jared didn't recognize this word. He did hold for a long period of time. So I was like, oh, okay, well maybe I'm gonna get a challenge off of this one. But in the end, he let it go and dropped his bomb of feel for 46. And now I'm down 55 points because I talked myself out of Minium, um, which is really bad. Minium would have just been such a nice play, either through this eye or down here. And yeah, huge problem to talk myself out of this at this stage of the game. Because now I draw a second U, and there's not much I can do. I thought a long time and couldn't really find anything great, and I decided to play Mun, trying to bingo next turn. Um, there's also Mon, but Mon doesn't take any hooks except the D hook, which there are no D's left, as we saw that I had all the D's. I had disproved, bided, and grazed. I don't know what that's worth, but I did have all the D's this game. I could play something like Unmanned, but that blocks lanes. I don't know if I saw Unicum, but that also blocks lanes. I have this potential K lane. It's going to be very hard to hit without an S. I have these letters to play through, and with Mun, I'm just trying to create another lane. Mun takes a I, and yeah, I don't really know if there's anything better in this position, but it looks very bleak. So yeah, Mun comes down for 16, and Jared plays quit for 32. So I guess not this, unless he misscored it. No, he played quit here. Okay. Right. Yeah, he played quit here, trying to block the lane. Okay, that makes sense. And here I was able to actually use my second U very nicely with cake. I could also play Sank, but just clearly better to play Cake. The other option is playing Koki because there's so many O's unseen. And that was actually something I was very aware of during this game is how I played the first O, and at this point in the game, all seven of the remaining O's were still unseen to me, which is completely insane, completely crazy. And so I imagined that like Jared had to have at least one O, if not like many. So I was actually feeling not so terrible after Cake because it's possible he has like 3 or 4 O's on his rack. But no matter. I did draw the second O after after Mun, and actually, Jared does not play an O here. He plays. Where does he play this? Plays X for 39. Why can't I find the spot? Oh, it's right there. So yeah, he plays X for 39. Actually, yeah, I wanted to simulate um, Cake and Koki because yeah, okay, it's just I just have to avoid the O's. That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, so he plays X and quite nicely blocking the triple triple, or even just a word starting in E. And I start drawing O's. So I drew 2 O's on my draw, and now there are only 4 O's unseen. I'm like, this is not good. This means that Jared is not struggling whatsoever. I could play something like Puja. I decided to play Gion. Again, like I'm trying not to block anything here. And by playing Gion, I'm actually keeping the possibility of a boon at f4, which we see actually simming very well here. I guess because I could maybe draw into a huge J play, and because I'm getting rid of 2 O's. This is really interesting. So what are the details saying about a boon? Our next turn we score 35 on average, so the highest average score because we have Gion for 36 and then potential other plays. How much do we bingo? We bingo like none of the time, but that's the same story with Gion. Very interesting. So I was certain that Gion keeping a boon was better than a boon keeping Gion, but it seems like the ceiling for my J is higher than the ceiling for my ABOO. And yeah, not really sure what to make of this. If Gion is really that bad, I think the reason that this play of a boon is doing so well is because even if Jared does block this E, I'm still going to be able to potentially use these through tiles in the next couple of moves. But I think what Quackle fails to recognize is that after Jared plays through the E and I play off my J somewhere, Jared's pretty uh pretty definitely going to try and block. So let's say I play a boon, Jared plays through the E, and I play Joy. I think Quackle is going to think that Jared's playing underneath Joy, even though he's going to be ahead like 40 points. So he's going to be blocking instead of that. That could be it, but very interesting sim result. ABOO is a terrible leave for sure. But I thought that this was my best chance of potentially outscoring and potentially threatening bingos at some point. But yeah, here Jared plays of for 28. So he's still going the outscoring route, also noticing how bad the unseen letters are for him. And I draw another O, and now it's just looking really bad. And I play a boon and then hit my clock, and I'm like, shit, I had Gaboon. Like, what is wrong with me? I could have put the G on. But then I sort of, funny, oh, that's a pun. I could have put the G on. Wow. That's actually really funny. Um, and then I start thinking about it. I'm like, well, actually, maybe I need to leave this 3G square alone so that I could potentially bingo starting with blank S. But no, like I realized that Gaboon was definitely better, even though I'm still just like probably never winning this game. It was really annoying to me that I missed this play. So yeah, yeah. Right after I hit my clock, I realized that I had the G. So maybe okay, maybe I'm drawing. Maybe my justification is I'm drawing into gasolier, gasoline. No, there are no N's. No. Oh yeah, I'm drawing into gasolier. Maybe that's the justification for a boon. Is if I draw specifically LIER, I'm drawing into gasolier. There you go. Wait, is dialoguer a word? Yeah. Okay, I'm drawing into both of those after a boon. There. That's my justification for this mistake. But another mistake for sure. Jared plays gyro, so if I drew into dialoguer, I would win, but I did not. I had this rack and it's 8 in the bag, and I couldn't find any way to do anything. I could ask championship player, and it's gonna think for a while and probably not give a very good result. But with this rack, with only the D open and the N and the I could not see a single word that I could draw by playing off one tile that Jared wouldn't block. So I gave up on the game and I played Coot, which is the top choice. So Coot comes down, and Jared makes a really nice play of Delicate in the end game, um, keeping an R. So he actually had Atelier on his rack. This has to be. Actually, this might not be the best end game, but it probably is. Yeah, Delicate, best end game. Here, Ha is also the best end game. Jared plays Gore. Unfortunately, he had Disprover. I did see that. I was like, oh my god, is he going to play Disprover for 15? That would be epic. But instead, he played Gore, winning the game 479 to 438. So great game to Jared. You might look at this game and see the racks that Jared had and be like, how could anyone win this game? But of course, this move was terrible. And had I played Minium, hopefully I wouldn't have drawn 6 O's and come back into the game. Anything could have happened. But instead I chose NIMBY because I was not sure enough of Minium, and that was what cost me the game. So yeah. Still happy to score 438, but could have done better. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.